So, of course, as always, if you guys have questions, let me know, but this is going to relate to the quiz portion of areas and perimeters. I've had a few people who actually kind of like this section. I mean, if you have to do math, I kind of think it's kind of fun, right? It could be worse, put it that way. So, what's really nice about the quiz when they go through and do this is if just kind of quick little rundown, looking at these problems, notice that here's a trigonometric area formula. They're telling you what formula to use. This problem, they gave you the formula to use. So they kind of took that out of the quiz. Like you don't even have to figure out which one it's going to be because they gave it to you. For all the problems that I pulled straight from the quiz, they're all here. So it's kind of nice because you don't need to figure out, well, which one is it going to be? You can tell because that's the information that they gave you. Yay, Rob, you're able to get on. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this first problem. And just as a review, I know that I said that they already tell you which one you're going to be using, but I still would like you guys to know, like, how do I know which one to use? What's the difference? And so when we look at this one, I look here, okay, and what are they looking for? Well, we want to know the perimeter of the triangle is x, y, z, of triangle x, y, z is 24. So we know our perimeter is equal to 24. What is the area of the triangle? Now, for this, remember, if it's trigonometric, it needs to be a side, angle, side. That means that we need to know the angle between the two sides. So what I'm given right now is an SSA. So I can't just go ahead and plug these two numbers, this 3 and this 11 into this formula and get the right answer. That will not work because this is what we call an SSA triangle, and we need to have that included angle. So what does that mean? Well, either I need to figure out what this angle is right here, or I need to figure out what this side is right here. One of the two. But I can easily figure out this side. Some of you guys say, well, how do I know? Well, we know the perimeter. They gave me the perimeter for a reason. So if I know the perimeter is 24, then I know that this side y, my perimeter is going to be 3 plus 11 plus that value of y. So that has to equal 24. Has to equal 3 plus 11 is 14 plus my y. This tells me then that my y is just a value of 10. So I know that this side here is a value of 10. Because I know that, I now have a side, angle, side triangle. I now have the values for my SAS. I have the two sides I need to use to plug into my formula. So be careful. That's going to be where you make the mistakes, is that you see, oh, I have two sides, I'm just going to plug it in. It has to be what we call the included side. So I have my side, and I have the angle that makes up those two, the angle that makes up that side. So you need to be careful that you have the right pieces. Go ahead and plug them in. So my area is going to equal 1/2 my two sides that I'm using. So it's 1/2 of 3 times 10 times my sine of 102 degrees. This is going to be 3 times 10 is 30. Half of 30 is 15. So you could do 15 sine of 102, or you could just plug this whole thing into your calculator, whatever makes you happy. And when I plug it into my calculator, I get that the area is going to be approximately 14, and it rounds it to the nearest tenth. So 0.7 square units. And there's my answer. All done. If I go too fast or you have questions, need clarification on something, let me know. If you want to see it in the calculator and I didn't plug it in, but you would like to see how I did it, just let me know. I have my calculator here, but I also don't want to waste your guys' time if you guys are already comfortable doing it. Alrighty. Next one. So we know we're going to be using Heron's formula. And as a reminder, to use Heron's, you need to know side, side, side. And I look here, I have a side, side, side. So it's looking good so far. And what is it asking? It just says, what is the area of the triangle? Round to the nearest hundredth. So they are all over the place in regards to your rounding. So just, be aware. Luckily, it's multiple choice. So it's going to have it set as one way or the other. So I go ahead and I plug in my values. Now, when we talk about this S, remember that S is half the perimeter. So I'm going to start off by figuring out, well, what is my perimeter? So P is equal to 12 plus 14 plus 16. I add them all up and I'm going to get 42. Then S is equal to half of 42. Half of my P, 42 divided by 2, 1/2 of 42, however you want to look at it, and it's going to be a value of 21. So the area is going to be the square root of S, so 21, then it's S minus each one of these angles. So it's going to be 21 minus 16, 21 minus 14, 21 minus 12 is going to equal, and I usually clean this piece up before I put it in my calculator. So I would do the square root of 21 times 5 times 7 times 9. And I would just go ahead and you can do it one of two ways. Do the square root and put this all in a parentheses and multiply them. Or you can multiply all these numbers and then take the square root. So 6,615 would be the multiplication of all of these. Take the square root of that value, and the area is approximately 81.33 square units. 81.33 square units. Done. So find the perimeter, use the perimeter to find that S value, and then use that S to help you find the area. All right, let's go into some word problems, right? We saw one very similar to this yesterday where we were given a parallelogram. So Jace ordered a banner in the shape of a parallelogram from the print shop. The print shop charges $1.10 per square foot for banners of any shape or size. What is the approximate cost of the banner before tax? Okay, so look at what I'm given. And notice I'm given this diagonal, this side, and this side. So we're going to use Heron's formula. So I'm going to find the area of this triangle. Now we want, though, the cost to make the banner of this rectangle. But if I figure out the area of this triangle, then I know the area of this triangle as well. So I could go ahead and add them together or multiply it times 2, however you want to look at it, to get the area of the entire parallelogram. So let's go ahead and look at this first one. So again, I have a side, side, side. So I'm going to figure out then, I'm going to use Heron's because it's a side, side, side. And I want to figure out how much area, what is the size of the banner that we need? So we need to figure out how big the banner is, and then we can figure out how much is that going to cost us. So my perimeter of this triangle is going to be 19 plus 12 plus 9, which is going to be 40. Then my value of S is half of 40, which is 20. Then the area of the triangle is going to be the square root of 20. So my value of S, and then it's S minus each one of these values. So it's going to be 20 minus 19, 20 minus 12, 20 minus 9 is going to equal the square root of 20 times 1 times 11 times, well, I kind of went out of order. Sorry, times my 8. So 20 minus 9 is 11. 20 minus 12 is my 8. They're just flipped. It's okay. They're still going to be congruent, or still going to be equal. It's going to be the square root. 20 times 1 times 11 times 8 is 1,760. The square root of 1,760 is going to be 41.95. Let me actually, I think I need to do 17, oops, square root 1760 952. Let's do one more decimal out. All right, so that's only going to be for just this right here in the red, but I want the entire thing. So I'm going to take that and multiply it by 2. So I could get my entire parallelogram, so times 2. And when I multiply by 2, I end up with 83.905 square feet. So units are in feet. The measurement per square foot is $1.10. So I want to make sure my units always match up. Maybe they gave me inches and they're charging it this way or vice versa. So you should pay attention to the units given. Okay, so we need 83.90 feet. This is how much material we need. Times the cost of the material. The cost is $1.10. So times the cost. And so I take my 83.905 and I multiply it times $1.10 and I get 92.30. So when I did this before, I have it rounded out further than what I typically would have. That's because my value was off a cent. Now, if I looked here and I got 92.29, you guys will probably recognize that's the only one that's close enough. So if I rounded it out that extra decimal, I actually got the value that they got, but I was rounding everything to the tenths, or sorry, to the hundredths, which I shouldn't have done since my final answer is in the hundredths. You should be rounding one more out. But just so you know, if you were off a cent, it has to do with your rounding, that you probably didn't round far enough out. So just be aware of that. But you could probably, if you got 29 cents and your only other option is 30, you should probably know which one's going to be correct then. It's not like they put both of them there. So just kind of a heads up on that. If you are sent off on something, it's probably because you didn't round far enough out. All righty. Last one. Okay, so Leanne is making a banner for school. So they go back to these banners a lot. So she cut 3 pieces of fabric into congruent isosceles triangles. So all 3 of these are going to measure the same. So if I find the area of one, then I know the area of the other 2, right? So to the nearest square inch, how much fabric will she use to make all 3 triangles? So they're going to be exactly, if we were doing this, we'd probably have excess things that were pieces we're cutting off, but they're going to be talking about exactly how much was used in the design, not how many things extra, okay? So here's what we're going to be using. So if that's going to be the case, I'm going to use my trigonometric area formula. I'm going to be having a side angle, side triangle. So I need to look to see, what am I given? So I'm given a side angle. That is not an SAS. Remember, if I know these 2 sides, then I need to know the angle between them to be able to use this formula. So that's a problem. Well, how do I know what those other 2 angles are? Well, that's easy, because if these 2 sides are congruent, then the angles across for them have to be congruent. So these 2 angles measure the same. These 2 angles measure the same. If I know this angle is 74 degrees, then 180 minus my 74 is 106 degrees. Then the sum of these 2 is going to be 106 degrees. If they're congruent, because these sides are congruent, the angles have to be congruent, then I could go ahead and divide this by 2 and I get 53 degrees. Each one of these angles has to be 53 degrees. So I know that this angle right here is 53 degrees and this angle right here is 53 degrees. So I now have my side angle side. So I have everything that I need. So remember, I need to make sure I'm using the angle for this that is in between the 2 sides. It's the angle that is made from knowing my 2 sides. They call that the included angle. It's in between the sides. So I go over here and I plug everything into my formula. Area is going to equal 1/2. I'm going to do 17 times my 20.5 times my sine of, now remember, it's the angle that's in between the two sides, which is my 53 degrees. And I would plug all of this into my calculator in one shot, and it tells me that the area is going to be 139.2. Square inches. All right, it says though, to the nearest square inch, how much fabric will she need to make all three? This is the area for one. So this is the area for one triangle. So all I need to do is take that and multiply it by 3. So it's just going to be 3 times my 139.2, and to the nearest whole number, it's going to be 417 square inches. And there's my answer. So make sure you're reading the question all the way. You don't want to accidentally mark the 139 because you got this answer here, but it didn't ask just for one, it wanted all three. So again, take your time, make sure you know what you're looking for, and your biggest mistakes are going to be on your SAS triangle. You notice that we had 2 of them where they gave you an ASS triangle, SSA triangle, where they didn't give you the measure of that included angle. You had to figure it out yourself. So be careful about that. Watch out for that one. If you guys have any questions throughout the day, please reach out to me, send me a message. If not, you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll start a new section tomorrow. Otherwise,
Have a good day.
Thanks, Rob. We'll see ya. You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too. Bye, everybody.